So guys, Terence Crawford says that he wants to prove that he's the best welterweight in the world. And he says once he beats Amir Khan, he wants to go in there and fight Errol Spence to prove he's the best welterweight. I do think, although Terence Crawford's saying that he's looking at Amir Khan, I do think he's overlooking Khan. I think he thinks he's going to beat him. And when he thinks he beats Khan, he wants that Spence fight to prove he's the best welterweight in the world. Now, let's look ahead at the Khan fight a second. If Crawford is successful, he is the favourite, which, again, I don't like doing because, like I said, I think the Amir Khan fight is a very, very tough fight for him and people are sleeping on Amir Khan. But he is the favourite if he does do it, right? I believe that Terence Crawford wants to fight Errol Spence. Now, I think there's a reluctancy from Errol Spence's camp, not because they're scared of Crawford, because they feel that there's a lot of business to be dealt with on his side of the street. He feels that there's fights with Sean Porter, Pacquiao, Thurman, guys like that, which he should fight first, and are easier fights to make than the Terence Crawford fight. Because the Terence Crawford fight, we know he's with Bob Arum and he's on the other side of the street, and we know that Bob Arum and Al Heyman's relationship is not the greatest. So I think Errol Spence is a bit reluctant, not because he's scared or he doesn't want to fight Terence Crawford, it's because he wants to fight. He knows that he's got a lot of pool of champions that he can pick from and fight. Whereas the problem is with Terence Crawford hasn't got the other fighters. Bob Arum doesn't have any other significant welterweights. All the significant welterweights are with PBC. Now, the problem is, Bob Arum keeps saying, well, you know, the other guys are not elite. Thurman's not elite. Porter's not elite. But nevertheless, they're champions. Do you understand? And Bob Arum, if he was promoting Porter or Thurman, trust me, he'd be chomping at the bits to be making those fights with Crawford. But what he's trying to do is trying to put those guys down. Now, listen, I think what Bob Arum is saying might be right. That they might not be elite in terms of, they might not be the best welterweights, right? But they're good fighters and they're fights that they should be made. Now, most people would argue that Terence Crawford fighting Porter and Thurman is more credible than fighting Khan. Now, I think stylistically, Khan's a harder fight for Crawford than those guys, because I don't think those guys are as good a boxer as Khan. Yes, they bring other attributes which they're better at and other attributes which will give Crawford trouble, but I believe Crawford would be able to overcome those. Now, with Khan, I think Khan is very difficult to outbox, but Khan, we know, has his vulnerabilities. But I think that Khan is a very difficult fight, just as difficult as those fights for Crawford as well. You know, those guys are big and strong and big welterweights, but I think Crawford will overcome that because Crawford's not a small guy himself. You know, he's a smaller man in comparison to them, but he can definitely overcome that. Now, Crawford, the reason why he wants the Spence fight so badly, because he knows there's nowhere else for him to go. There's nowhere else for Crawford to go. There's no one for Crawford to fight. Do you see what I mean? Like, he's obviously got this Amir Khan fight, and that's a big name fight. That's a huge fight. And really, that was the only guy that he could probably make that was a big fight, big pay-per-view fight that wasn't with Al Heyman. Now, all the other guys, if Terence Crawford is able to come through Amir Khan, all the other fights, right, are gonna have to be made with Al Heyman. You know, all the other big fights. So, you know, Bob Arum keeps talking about these other kids and the other guys, but listen, all the other top fighters, welterweights, are with with Al Heyman. So Bob Arum's gonna have to do business with Al Heyman, and Al Heyman's gonna have to do business with Bob Arum in order to make the fight. Now, the super fight that everybody wants to see is Crawford and Spence, and people are chomping at the bits to see that fight. So, you know, are Bob Arum and Al Heyman going to put their differences aside and come together and make this fight? Because this is a fight, let's be honest, everybody wants to see. I don't know whether it happens, but what do you guys make of Terence Crawford saying that he wants to prove he's the best welterweight by fighting Errol Spence and beating him? Leave your thoughts, guys. And guys, remember to please like, share, and subscribe to my channel. I'll see you guys in the next video.